Welcome to Part 3 of the training program. In this part, we are going to talk about the benefits of activities and the methods to implement lots of different activities that can be used in long-term care settings. In your materials, you can see the list that will be covered. To review, teamwork is critical to success, so everyone on your team needs to understand individual needs and individual interests. Eliminate environmental stressors that will cause diversions in your programming. Adjust your approaches and your routines to promote comfort and function of the residents that are taking part. Be sure to use some kind of baseline assessment to guide the person-appropriate activities and make them meaningful to that individual. There are many different activities that can be offered to nursing home residents. Again, it's based on each person's needs, their interests, and their ability levels. On the slide, you will see an extensive list of ideas, but creativity is also very important. The most important thing in any activity is the therapeutic use of self. That means talking with the resident, relating to the resident, and making sure that activity is really meaningful, interesting, and fun. That is the critical component to a successful activity. There is a group of very easy-to-make activities called Simple Pleasures. These were tested in an extensive research project in New York State. The idea behind this group of activities is you can get volunteers to make them for you and deliver them to your facility. You can also train your staff members and your volunteers to use these during visits. It's very important that you match the activities to the needs of the residents. Those residents who are passive or bored may need activities to stimulate their interest and engagement. Those people who are agitated or restless, maybe they're wandering or physically aggressive, those residents are going to need a calming activity. So as we go through the Simple Pleasures items, think about how you can use them in your facility with your residents. If you would like to download information about Simple Pleasures, the website is listed on the slide. Visit the Program Structure section for detailed instructions on how to make each of the items and use them in your facility. These are available for free. Just download them, put them into a booklet, and give them to your volunteers. Once you have Simple Pleasures developed and fabricated by your volunteers, it is essential to make them available. It's an error to lock them in a cupboard so that people at the facility cannot get their hands on them. Make yourself an activity cart or milk crate or some other kind of delivery method so residents who need stimulation or want something to do can easily access these items. Quite a few of the Simple Pleasure items were designed for people who are agitated, anxious, or wandering. You might want to give them a chance to rest. One of the items is called the Wandering Cart. Another is called the Latch Box. There are also a host of other items like table ball, wall hangings, look inside items, and ways that you can divert a resident who may be feeling stressed out. The first is the Wandering Cart. As you can see in the picture, it is basically a PVC pipe cart that is made with a wooden bottom and 4 heavy-duty wheels. It is covered with interesting colors of fabric and pockets are sewn onto the fabric. The cart is also designed so that you can put a tray from the dining room right on top of it. If you have residents who cannot sit still in the dining room or need to wander, but you're worried about their nutrition, they can take finger foods on the tray and wander throughout their unit with their wandering cart. In the pockets of the cart, you can place recreational items that might be interesting and allow for socializing. If somebody comes up to the cart, the person with it can offer a deck of cards, some interesting photographs, or a little table game to interact with. It is also hard to wander into someone's room with the cart. It's made so it can go through another resident's door, but it's challenging. It will keep that person wandering in the hallway areas where it's safer and there's better space for them to be engaged. On the same slide, you'll see a latch box. You can purchase these from a catalog, but the plan is also in the Simple Pleasures instructions. You can fabricate this latch box with different doors and different little locks that the residents can open and look inside. Under each of the latch box doors is a photograph, and you can use that to cue a conversation or to talk with the resident. It might be a picture of someone going hunting, or somebody throwing a baseball, or a red sports car, but it will help with conversation, especially for volunteers who do not know your residents. Another great item to have for people who wander is called the table ball game. It takes a little bit of skill to make this. You need a saw and some woodworking skills, but once it's developed, you can place the table ball game in a location that acts as a diversion. Anybody who has gone to an arcade or carnival in their younger years will know what to do. You basically roll the balls up the little ramp and try to score points. Once you start playing this, it's very engaging and fun. Another option is sensory wall hangings. The wall hangings are interactive. Some of them are designed for women and some are designed for men. They are placed at eye level for wheelchairs or for people who are wandering, and the idea is that they would stop and do an activity at the interactive sensory wall hanging. One example might be rearranging flowers. Another might be a fishing wall hanging where you open up a fish that's got a zipper on it and work with the tackle that's also on that wall hanging. The third item on the slide is rings on the hook. The rings on the hook game is taking canning jar rings and placing them over the hooks. You'll notice the feet on this activity so it can be placed on the table. You can also use it in the dining room as well. When the original research was done, it was found that if you placed it on the table right in front of people, it was more engaging than having to stop while walking in the hallway. Some additional activities on the next slide are look inside purses and fishing boxes. If you have residents with hand restlessness, or they're picking at their clothing or at another person, these items can be given to that individual to sort through or rummage in. Fishing boxes are one rummaging item. You open up the tackle box and you look inside, and there are safe items in there. Lures with the hooks sanded off, bobbers, even a fishing license for the individual could be put in the box. You can also use lots of rubber, worms, and other interesting things that are tactile and nice to touch. There are also sensory look inside purses. You can write on the outside of the purse, "Look inside," with fabric paint. Inside each of these purses are items you normally find. Sets of keys, photographs, junk mail, tissues, that kind of thing. Residents who are anxious or restless can benefit from rummaging through a purse as a diversion. The next series of items can be really good for people who are vocalizing, making repeated requests for help, or asking to go home. There are about 6 or 7 items that were tested and recommended for that use on the next slides. The first item is the wave machine. Wave machines are made out of plastic water bottles or salad dressing bottles. Either will work, but the salad dressing bottles have a narrow neck and an interesting tactile grip to them. Clean the bottle thoroughly, then put some pennies or seashells or something interesting that will clunk around like stones in the bottom. Then fill the bottle halfway with colored water. Blue water or green water has been shown to be most appealing to people with dementia. After that's halfway filled, put a layer of glitter in and fill it up the rest of the way with baby oil. Take the top off and carefully clean it and put superglue around the top. Put the cap back on very tightly and put a layer of electrical tape around it as well. That way nobody can open up the bottle and drink what's inside. The next item, which is also wonderful for hand restlessness, is called the hand muff. The hand muff is made of 2 types of fabric, polar fleece and silky lining fabric, with cotton batting in between. You can give this to residents who have cold hands or just came out of the shower, or are just feeling kind of anxious. By putting your hands in this warm muff, it's very calming and relaxing type of experience. The next item is called a polar fleece hot water bottle. The water bottle is an old-fashioned nursing intervention that has been made into a sensory motor activity. It can be very successful for people who are repeatedly vocalizing or crying out for help. The combination of warm water and the heaviness of the hot water bottle with this polar fleece fuzzy cover is important. They can cuddle with or hold on to it and feel the deep pressure and weighted component. For this intervention, be sure you get an order before you use any kind of heat with a nursing home resident. Ask the physician or the nurse practitioner, "May we give the resident this item?" Another comforting and soft item is called the sensory vest. Volunteers can make interesting vests that have different kinds of fabrics and colors and textures to them, loaded with pockets. In every pocket, place something interesting to do. This could be a small ball, a musical card, something to sew, or maybe a little notepad and something to write with. But there are interesting things in the pockets to interact with or pass out to your friends. It's also very interesting and cozy to put this on if you're feeling cold. The next slide shows sensory aprons and a tablecloth for residents to interact with. You could buy sensory aprons through any activity catalog, but for just a few dollars worth of fabric, you can have volunteers make interesting aprons for your residents. You can put these aprons on people, and each and every pocket has something interesting to touch, handle, manipulate, or interact with. You can make them unisex so men can wear these, as well as feminine versions for women. On the same slide in the corner, you'll see a picture of a sensory tablecloth. There are 4 different stations. You could put 4 residents at a round or square table, and each of the sections of the tablecloth has something interesting to do. You could tie ribbons or braid little ropes. You can look inside some pockets at the pictures that are there. You can hang some laundry, or you can put your hands in some hand muffs and get warm. Even low-functioning residents will start to interact or talk about what they're doing, and it gives them a nice opportunity to socialize before or after meals. All of these items need to be removable so you can wash the tablecloth or wash the aprons. Research has found that people in nursing homes can be cold and their hands can be painful because of arthritis, so items that are soft and warming to touch can be helpful. One was the muff shown on the previous slide. Another seen here is a stuffed fish. It is very easy to make sewing project, and it's soft, easy to twist or grab onto, and produces a warming effect. On the same slide, you'll see a little bit more challenging sewing project called sensory butterflies. If you have people from a church group or a hospital volunteer organization, this is a perfect project for them to make because you can make them interesting and lots of different textures and fabrics can be used. Residents like to hold them against themselves to touch with their hands and interact with them in a nice, warming way. They can also be used in a shower or bath. If somebody needs something to hold on to while they're in the shower, you could take these in there and then just throw them in the dryer. There are several items that can really help with hand restlessness, which can be a common problem for people who have dementia. They may not know what to do with their hands and might reach out to people nearby or staff who pass by, so a lot of these items are really useful for that kind of situation. A very simple one is a home decorator book. You can be creative with this project. Start with a poster board and fold it in half. Then fold it in half again so it's quartered and looks like a giant greeting card. With that greeting card, go to your local wallpaper store and ask for samples. It could be wallpaper, curtain samples, paint chips, or a variety of things. In those sample books, you'll find a living room, or child's room, or a bathroom that can be redecorated, and you put one of these photos on the cover of the book. Inside, put the fabric samples and other kinds of things that you find in that display book. For the residents, it's very engaging. They get to talk about a home, maybe their home or a home they'd like to go back to, or they get to talk about their room at the nursing home and how they'd like to redesign it. It gives them an opportunity to talk with someone else about things they enjoy and to reminisce about places they've been and the things they've done in the past. You can do vacation books, leisure activity books, and more. The books are basically a cue and sensor motor item to engage that resident, and they're really wonderful. Sewing cards are also easy to make. You can buy them in any activity catalog, but they are expensive and can be a good volunteer project. Take a piece of poster board. There's a template in the Simple Pleasures materials that has the size that you're going to make these and the placement for the punch holes. You can be very creative in how they're decorated. They can be decorated with different types of fabric or greeting cards or old calendar photographs. Just make them interesting. Take a long piece of yarn and dip the end of the yarn in some type of glue. That glue will harden and make it like a needle, and then you tie the other end into the corner of the sewing card. Basically, the resident is cued to sew and maybe even sew items together. Another very simple item that volunteers can make for nursing homes is called the stress ball or squeezy. This item is made with 2 10-inch balloons and about a half a cup of millet. Take a water bottle, cut it in half, and make a funnel. The funnel is used to stretch the balloon over. Then put the half cup of millet in it and blow the millet into the balloon. Once the millet is in the balloon, tie a knot. Cut off the extra and then take your second balloon, cut the neck off, and stretch it over the knot so you have one balloon covering the first balloon. Make sure your residents do not have latex allergies. These could be used in your nursing home activity programs as diversions. As part of your exercise class for arthritic pain, they're very nice to touch. The next group of items are for passive or apathetic residents, people who are not engaged. We already talked briefly about the sensory tablecloth. You might have to engage that resident in tying the braids or putting their hands in the sensory pockets, but get them going and that might keep them engaged for a few minutes. With stress balls, if you put a basket of the stress balls in the resident's hands or his or her lap, they are right there in front of them and they will engage with them. So for that very apathetic resident, that person who's quite passive, put the item right in the person's lap. Some of the other items in the next slides are dominoes, tether balls, and message magnets. With picture dominoes, you take pre-cut pieces of wood and sand them. Then in the Simple Pleasures materials, you will find the pictures that will be colored and laminated onto the dominoes. It's critical to color all of the pictures the same way, so that all butterflies look the same, all the Bibles look the same, and so on. That way the residents have an easier time matching up the dominoes. The residents who use them can play a picture domino game where they're matching up the items, or use them like a building activity, or like a puzzle on the table that they're sorting. They're nice to touch. Sounds nice when you're clunking the wood pieces around, and are quite engaging. The next item is a tether ball. When we did our research, this was the most popular item. It has been popular for people who have all stages of dementia, from people who are quite impaired through higher level functioning people as well. The tether ball is 6 pieces of fabric sewn together with a 10-inch balloon inside it that's blown up, and then it's hung from the ceiling with a piece of yarn. The tether ball is fun to play because it's kind of like a volleyball game, but you never have to chase the ball. Another really great activity for people who have aphasia can be the message magnets. They are made out of old scraps from a magnetic store, and they have stem phrases like, I'm good at, or I need, or I would rather be. Then the person can find the word on another magnet to fill in the blank. It might be, I am good at playing the piano, or I would like to go to church, or I'm cold. And unless they use the message magnets, they may not be able to find the words. Some residents are not able to complete the phrase, but they can still enjoy message magnets as if they are a puzzle where they are just lining up the messages or putting the words all on the cookie sheet.